Ida Rosen, and I am the owner and one of the instructors here at Flow Pole Fitness in Sweden. Recently I've seen a lot of posts and questions about climbing technique, and mainly people actually asking for how to not get so bruised, or even worse, even get little wounds on their feet. So what I'm going to do today is a tutorial on the climbing technique that works for me and my students. And I'm not saying this is the only way to do it or the best way, but it works really well for us, and I haven't had that much problems with bruising for my students when you do it the right way. I'm going to go over a bunch of different steps, so this is probably going to be a little bit longer video. Once you know the steps or you get a hang of it, you can move on to the next one, or you can just fast forward. But I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm going to do a little explanation about also like the physics behind the pole, because climbing has a lot of work. Everything that we do on the pole has a lot to do with physics, actually, where we put the pressure. In general, what we want to try to do on the pole is to create as much pressure as possible going straight out or into the pole. We want to avoid any pressure that goes up or specifically down, which makes sense. And when we're climbing, what we can do is try to create pressure going towards the pole, like straight in, instead of trying to push down. When we're thinking too much about going up on the pole, it's very easy that we start to create a lot of pressure that's also going down, which usually makes a lot of rubbing on the feet or on the soles, and that's definitely going to make some bruising. So what we're going to start to do is an exercise that I call the Carousel Kick. And what you want to do for this one of the first things that we want to try to avoid on the pole is the flexing of the foot. Because one, this is kind of going to tell your head that there's an invisible footstep that you can put your foot on and push down. And as you can see, there isn't. And I haven't seen a pole with a footstep yet. So don't trick your brain into thinking that there's a footstep down there, because there isn't. And that's definitely going to make you bruise on your foot and probably on your shin too. So instead, what you want to do is try to point your foot as much as you can. The second thing you want to think about is to try to avoid having your knee passing the pole. Because as I mentioned earlier, what we're going to create soon is the pressure going towards the pole. And if your knee has already passed the pole, it's most likely going to pass even more, because the knee is our strong part, and we're going to keep it behind, slightly tucked in behind the pole. This is probably going to feel a bit different if you're used to using the flexed foot technique, knee beside the pole. So when you first try to draw the knee back, flex your foot, you should be able actually to put a hand between the foot and your pole. So that means the pole is more going towards my shin and above the flexion of the foot. Because when I put the pressure right here, that's also going to make my foot want to flex. So I want to keep my leg just a little bit slanted and keep the pressure on the shin. To make this pressure stay there and to make the leg not drop, I'm going to squeeze the leg in between my body and the pole, and I do that by pulling the knee as high up as I can. Sometimes my students tell me when I tell them to do this, that they're not that flexible. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to let that one slip, because most people, unless you have like metal things, surgery in your hips, you will be able to do this. This is not a lot of flexibility. If you're going to start to extend your leg, sure, we can talk about flexibility, but being able to pull your knee into your chest is not that much about flexibility. So I really want you to get your knee as high up as you can, because what that's going to do is put pressure, because your body is now going to pinch your leg towards the pole, and that means even if you try really hard to push the leg down, it's going to make it hard because you're pushing the leg in. If you're out here and you're flexing your foot, or if you just keep it, you can easily push your leg down. That's not even hard. But if you push yourself against your thigh towards the pole, that's going to keep it in place. Even for me, that's super slippery on the brass poles. When it's a little bit dry, my legs really slip. So I'm going to give you some good techniques on that too. So that's the first step. Make sure that you get your knee really high up and that you're squeezing it with your body. The second step is the arms. When we're doing the carousel kicks, you do not want to pull with your arms, because it's kind of the same thing as rock climbing, if we're any sort of climbing, the instructor will most likely tell you, try to use your legs as much as possible. Don't go all the way up there, just using your arms. And it's the same thing on the pole. If you're really thinking about competing or making a performance, or even in the studio where you're going into advanced levels, and poles might be about 3-4 meters high, when you get to the top, you want some strength left in your arms. So if we can save that energy and put it on our legs instead of pulling all the way up with our arms, that's going to be great for you. So let's try to avoid using the arms as much as possible. So for the first step, that's called the Carousel Kick. Again, put your knee as high up as you can. Keep the leg a little bit slanted to the side so your knee stays behind. Keep your arms high and your shoulders engaged. And from here, just slightly push the pole with your leg. You don't need to go super high at this point. Keep your arms straight and just try to push the pole with your leg. And we're keeping the toe pointed. So imagine sort of that you're pushing a puppy away. You don't want to kick it. You just carefully want to shove it away. So that's what we're doing. We're using the shin and we're trying to push the pole forward. When we're pushing the pole, our body is going to go the opposite way. And since we're hanging on to our arms, we'll go out. And you want to try to avoid this feeling. We don't need that right now. And I'm going to show you why in the second step. So first, try this. Try to find the Carousel Kicks, just slightly going up. We're not going all the way up to the pole just yet. We're just trying to find that momentum of pushing the pole with our leg to create some height. If you want, you can use the back leg, swing it a little bit back to get even more momentum. So the second step from here, we've got some height, we've got some movement going away to the side from the pole. From here, we need to lock the position with our other leg. So when I put the first one behind the pole, I'm going to put my other heel in front of the pole. And also this should not take a lot of effort. You should be in your first position, arms up, leg high. And as we said, since I'm putting pressure on this leg, it shouldn't slide that much. I'm really squeezing it in between myself and the pole. From here, no effort in the arms, just carefully lift the leg and place it in front. This should be sort of a relaxed position where you could swing just a little bit to get the feeling. And as you can see, I can keep my toes completely pointed. So that's the second step. Try to find this position, but really heavy, almost all the way into your heels. Legs crossed on the pole and knees parallel. From here, we're going to take it all the way up. But what I want you to think here, again, we're talking about using as little arm strength as possible going up there. So I want you to try something on the floor. Try to find a similar position that we're doing in the air. That means 1 foot behind the pole, 1 leg in front, sit down, arms high. In this position, you can just give a little sample for yourself. Try to pull yourself, arm muscles only. And you will notice that will be heavy already going on the floor. Now if you do the same thing, but you imagine that you have a friend behind you, or actually use a friend and do this in pairs, imagine or get a friend to grab your rib cage from behind. So they're really going underneath, putting fingers in between the rib cage, and try to pull you back as you're going up. So we're going from here. Imagine that someone is pulling you all the way back. And as you get up here, instead of pulling with your arms, just let your elbows drop. Pull your chest in. That way our arms won't get in the way. Because when we're already up here, we're not that heavy anymore. You don't need to do this. So use your legs, pull out, and then just pull yourself in. You can even open your hands in this position. Pull your elbows down by your side, chest up to the pole to find position. So keep that in mind. Have that friend pulling you back up. So we're going back to the first position where we have our hands really high, knee really high, and the other leg locks. So from here, we're going to try the same feeling that we did on the floor. Push out, pull in. So you see my elbows go down to my side, and I'm in the crucifix position. So I'll show you one more time. Hands up high. So you can see I'm not pulling with my arms. I'm not doing this. I'm just leaning back and then carefully pulling my chest in. Arms super high, shoulders a little bit engaged. Knee high. Let's stay here. Keep your butt low as you place the other foot. Make sure your knees are parallel. They're the same height and they're behind the pole. We push out and pull in carefully. From here, we're gonna move on to the next step. We didn't exactly climb already. We just stepped up. We took it one level up on the pole. So from here, if you want to take the next step, if you want to keep climbing, again, we want to keep our arms strong. We don't want to use them too much. So if I would try to create this feeling again, pull my hands up here, I would have a really hard time to get my hips and butt back. And we need to do that to be able to get our knee in between ourselves and our body again. So what I need to do is I need something to create pressure towards the pole as I'm pulling my knees up. My favorite thing to do, you can do it with one hand. My favorite position is when you have your hand, arms high, or hand face height, and then you take your elbow and you cross the pole. This is probably going to feel a little bit different the first couple of times you try it. If you find another position that works for you as you're pushing the pole, go ahead. But you hand, face height, elbow crosses the pole, so now my lower arm crosses the pole from here. I usually get on my toes and I lean in a little bit towards the pole to grab with my upper hand really high on the pole, engage your shoulder. From here, I want to push my booty out a little bit, so I'm using this elbow, again putting pressure towards the pole. So I'm trying to push the pole away with my lower hand, and then my toes go to the pole. So I'm trying just carefully to get some distance from the pole and my hips. That way, the only distance I need, this doesn't have to be full on, and it doesn't have to be really far. We just have to get the hips out far enough to get our knees in between. So you can try this on the floor a couple of times before you do it up in the air. So you get the same position, just do the swings. You can have a friend stand behind you or imagine that you have a friend. Try to touch them with your butt at the same time as your toe touches the pole. You see? Butt out, toes in. When you got that little swing, when you get the hang of it, you want to place your knees in the same position that we do when we do this. But we need to do this as ones now, at the same time that we're lifting out our butt. So I'm doing the same thing over here, hands up. And now as my butt goes out, my knees go up. And again, they're really high. See, I'm in the same position as if I would have stepped up from the floor. I'm back here. So that's what we need to do to get our second step. You can try that one on the floor and do the exact same thing you did when you had your arms up here. Or you can start with arms here. Do the same thing from the floor. Leg, leg, push out, and pull your chest in. From here, if we need a second step, this is where the arm really comes in. Because if my hands are up here, and I try to get the knees in between, it's gonna be really hard, you see? That's why I put my elbow in between me and my body, arm up, and I can push my butt out to get the knees up again. I don't even need both hands here as I push up. So give that a couple of times. Elbow, arm, pull your knees high on the pole. Here is not enough. Get them high, get your butt low, and push. You can use this exercise. Keep your toes pointed and carefully come back down. So do this at your own pace. Be careful. Once you get a hang of it, you can start to alternate arms. That makes the climb really pretty because you don't have to re-grip. So you can try from down here and you go up, elbow in, up, elbow in, up. So you see what I mean? Try to keep those toes pointed. Try to get the pressure. You see I'm a little bit red, but it's not going to do any bruising. Just done this a couple of times now. Be careful. Try to do it slowly and controlled. Get it step by step. And if you have any questions, or if I forgot to mention something, or if something wasn't clear enough, just give me a comment. If you want me to do more tutorials, let me know. You can also follow me on Instagram. My Instagram name is Ida Rosenflow. IDAROSENFLOW. So you can write me there, you can follow me, or just like and share this video if you appreciated it or if it helped you. And if you have any other questions, just let me know. And good luck with your climbing. Keep bruise free. Bye.